Welcome back for what I believe will be the final installment of this build. We're on the tail end and got a couple of things to go over here procedural wise, and I think that will help a few people. And then we'll probably wrap this video up by talking about what to do pre-break-in. Remember, this is a flat tappet cam, hydraulic flat tappet cam, and it requires a specific break-in to ensure that we have proper wear. And so we'll close out with that. And I don't believe, I'm not sure I'll be running these anytime soon, but I'll follow up with a run video at some point in the distant future. Well, first of all, when you go about stabbing the distributor and setting up the timing, this can be a little bit intimidating, especially if you don't do it every day. And even when you do it every so often, you still have to kind of remind yourself and double check everything, because in a perfect world, ideally, you want to set this timing up to where you can start the engine and you can do the break-in procedure without having to put a timing light on it and have to do any adjustments. You want to be able to crank right up and hit right up to your target RPM, say 2,000, 2,200, something like that, for your cam break-in. So this is kind of a critical step. So you want to be right on the money. So the first thing I did was verify where I wanted to be on my timing marks. And so I rotated this engine. This engine is the standard rotation. So it's going to rotate looking this way. It is counterclockwise. So I rotate this around, and I verify my exhaust valve going up and down and my intake going up and down to make sure I'm in the right part of the firing cycle. And look down my sight here, and you'll remember that I have, I put these original Chris Crafts have the dimple on the flywheel. And, but I marked my flywheel at absolute TDC, top dead center. And then I marked a 5 degree and a 12 degree and a 28 degree, all in 28. And so my target for startup is right around about 8 to 10 degrees. So I set my flywheel, verified where I was in the firing sequence, and then I set my my pointer pretty much on 8 to 10 degrees, just a little bit before the 12 mark. So I should be, and I should be right on 8 to 10 degrees, and easily verifiable by looking into the piston with a light here. I'm sorry, looking into the cylinder through the spark plug, and you can see the piston right there. So that's what you want to do, is set that timing up right where it is, and don't move the engine. Now for your distributor, these original distributors, I was lucky enough to get some new old stock distributors, and brand new, perfect condition. And the way you stab these is exactly like you would on any kind of automobile, small block Chevy. You're basically interfacing with the teeth down there and turning your rotor here and getting it to come down. It spins as the distributor slides in all the way. Except here, where, if you'll recall, we're driven off of the end of the camshaft with that special gear that mates up right down in here. So what we want to do is we want to point the distributor to Chris Craft number 1, which is that far on the left here. And so this one I used my driven gel lubed up the bottom of that gear and the shaft. It's got a little O-ring on it. There's no felt washer or anything underneath this. I loosened this up, the plate that allows you to do the fine-tuning adjustments, turn the distributor, or clock the distributor where I wanted it to be, and then rotated, and a couple of tries, it popped right down, and I'm pointed right at number 1. Now, there's a procedure you can do is, you can eyeball it and be pretty close, but what you want to do is actually you get one of those little electrical lights. And let me pause a second, I'll grab it. Okay, this is the electrical circuit tester that I was talking about, and gosh, you can find these just about anywhere, but basically it's a little battery powered light tester in there. But basically the procedure is, you know, you're going to ground your ground to the distributor, and on the far side of the point you're completing the circuit here when you touch that. And if I can do this holding the light, you can see there I'm completing the circuit. So what we want to do is we want to complete the circuit just when the points come together. So you rotate the base of the distributor and open those points up, and then as you rotate back, just at the point where they come together is where you want to stop. And basically that's going to get you about as close as you could possibly get prior to running. So I've rotated the base of the distributor, I've opened up the points, and then as I come back, right where those points are going to touch each other is where I stop. And when that happens, I complete the circuit and my light comes on. And that's telling me that I'm right at the point where it's going to fire at that number 1 cylinder. And with my flywheel set at 10 degrees, I should be at least within a few degrees of, you know, up or down of that, which would be close enough to do my my startup and run in without having to fiddle with the timing. Then obviously you come back with your timing light, you kind of, you know, dial everything in. But this is a nice little trick that was taught to me, and it's pretty cool to get that and feel like you're, you know, gonna be that close. So once we set that, then we can lock down our distributor. And my next section of this, I'm just going to walk through building the new plug wires, putting the new plug wires together. And obviously this is a different rotation. This is the 156-34278, which would be your standard small block Chevy rotation instead of the opposite rotation. Okay, we're back. Let's walk through the wires. So this set already has the plug end on there, the spark plug end, so we just need to put on the cap in. It comes with a bunch of extra pieces, parts and pieces, depending on the type of cap you have. This works for the cap that we have in this particular situation. And then you have your coil wire caps there. If you're gonna do this like more than once in a lifetime, I highly recommend getting a spark plug, spark plug wire crimper tool. This is a Summit 900399. Worth every cent if you're gonna do this more than once in a lifetime. Even if you just do it once, it's worth it. Makes it so easy. Couple of things about this. This is the coil bracket. This is the stock bracket. I like to replace this regular just kind of zinc steel machine screw with a brass so that it does not rust. Also, I replaced the hardware, of course, with stainless steel to keep that from rusting. These are 1/4 28 fine threads. I believe this is a 1/2 inch, and on this side with the resistor, I believe this is a 3/4 inch that I put on there to make up the space for the width of the resistor. And that mounts just directly actually right here on this case bolt, this intermediate housing bolt. And it fits just like that. And you kind of tilt it over just a little bit, and then you've got everything ready to go there. On the plug wires, I like to do them one at a time. So I know that I mark the side of my distributor where the number 1 is, and that's where it's currently pointing. And your distributor turns clockwise. So I just follow my firing order. In this case, this is a standard rotation, 1, 5, 6, 3, 4, 2, 7, 8. And I just do one run at a time, mark it carefully, and get it just the way I want it, and then cut it off. And this is basically, you're gonna peel back the shielding around the wire, and you can slice that with a razor blade really easy, and then just kind of bend it, and that white part inside there will just kind of open up. You do not want to nick or hurt this wire in any way. This is about a 1/2 inch or so, maybe a little bit more. You fold that over, and then you lay it into the bottom of your end here, and then you simply crimp it, and it gives you a perfect crimp every time, and you're good to go. Also though, don't make the mistake of not sliding your boot over the wire first. And for this, sometimes these can be really tight, and it's rubber on rubber, so it doesn't want to slide. I go to my my go-to silicone grease here. Just get just a little bit on your fingers and rub it on that, and then this end piece will just slide right over there really easy. So don't forget to put that on before you do your crimp, otherwise you will have just ruined one of them. You'll have to do that again. But everything is pretty straightforward, so I'll get this buttoned up and come back. Well, here we are. We have made it to the finish line. And first I want to thank everybody that's helped on this project. Eric Thearling, Robert Hinkle, many other people, many other vendors have made this possible for me to learn a lot. I had certainly done this before, but not to this level of detail. So my hope was that I would help others who might be doing this. And when I went to do this project, there was no video like this online that I could find, and the research was somewhat limited, even though this is a fairly common application. Chris-Craft made over 41,000 of these engines from 1959 to 1968 roughly, and that's a lot of engines out there. There's still a lot of these engines operating, and parts are getting harder and harder to find and more expensive all the time. So if you think you're going to do a project like this, start collecting the parts for sure. It's amazing that we can take, a remanufactured or a new old stock block and apply it to an application from 50 years ago. So anyway, so we made it to the end, and I wanted to do a walk around for you. We ended up the last little segment there on the spark plug wires, putting those in. Very straightforward. I can talk a little bit about what I would do here to prep these engines. I'm not going to run these engines at the moment until I get a little further along with the boat hull project and have that ready to go. So as far as getting them prepped though, you want to have everything ready to go. You want to have the carb filled up with fuel. You want to have, of course, everything checked across the systems. And we talked about already having, the timing set. You just want this thing to fire off and get it right to that break-in RPM for the flat tappet cam without a lot of trouble. There are always issues, things to tighten up here or a little leak here or there. I hope to have none or very, very little. I think when you do a project like this and you pay as close attention to all the details as possible, you're likely to not have too many problems. But it's just to be expected when you start them up and dial them in. And of course, final timing and just really dialing them in can really only occur in the boat under load and with the right props and so forth. So at any rate, I hope I have helped others when they're interested in doing something like this. Again, I'm certainly no professional engine builder, but after doing this several times, I don't see why someone with a bit of mechanical skill and they're, knowing their way around a small block, can't do this kind of work. And of course it takes some tools, it takes a couple of special things, but for the most part, you probably should already have these tools if you do this kind of work for fun. And then it's always fun collecting the tools as you go, and you never know when you might be doing another one. So anyway, if you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments below. And again, thanks for listening to my voice. It's like nails on a chalkboard to me, but I've tried to be succinct and call out what I'm doing or what I did as much as possible. I'm sure I've watched the videos many times and I catch myself not remembering what to call a certain part or calling it by a different name or whatever. I apologize for any goofs like that. But obviously I'm not some prolific YouTuber with fancy editing and all that. My intent was just to get the raw information out there and help others so they wouldn't struggle as much. Anyway, I'm going to sign off, and I will eventually post a running video of these and probably a continuation of this multi-year Riva Akurama project that I'm doing for fun for myself. Take care out there.